Okay, good morning everybody. I'm Marcus Idle from Cocho and I'm here with Jazz Suri from Microsoft. And it's a real pleasure to be here with Jazz actually because he's been accompanying us on our journey with B2C since its inception. And I remember years ago now, kind of sitting down at Microsoft's offices in London near Paddington, working on a couple of knotty problems across the desk with Jamie as well and with Ed Wu from Microsoft. And basically they've been here to help us out in the early days of B2C and all along in our journey. And it's great to see also clients of ours here who have taken that journey with us. You haven't taken that journey just because we're nice. You've had reasons for doing that. And you'll hear some of those in the next presentation from BT. But some of those reasons have been keeping identities secure. How do you protect the identities of your users and your resources from bad actors? Single sign-on. So taking an estate of what might be, 15, 20, 30 different web applications and mobile apps that you've developed over time, acquired over time, and making sure that your customers, your end users, have a single sign-on for those applications. One username, one password, or as we'll hear later on, passwordless or other methods of sign-in. And improving engagement. What does engagement mean? This is not just a phrase I'm throwing out. Engagement means more users registering on your websites to consume your services. How do you improve engagement? You make sure that the sign-up process is easy. So, for example, using social media, so people you can use their Facebook login, their Google login to sign in. They don't need to think about a password. They don't need to invent a new password. Doing these things and looking at the sign-on journey, making sure that it's usable, that people are engaging with it, that you're measuring engagement, improving it. These actually give you more end users, give you more customers. So some of the customers that we've worked with over the years have included insurance companies who've come to us because they initially wanted to just make sure their users were secure. They wanted to move to a platform which wasn't based on their random website that their web developers built for them. It was a solid security platform that actually measured the threat posed by their users and did something about it. And we've had customers in the membership sector, so in this case the Institution of Engineering and Technology, who came to us because they were one of these organizations who had 15 websites, most of which users had to sign in with different credentials. So it was a pain for the users and a pain for their service desk. So they massively improved engagement by introducing single sign-on. And we've worked in a vast number of sectors. To
me.
Over to Jazz.
I hope this is working.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'd just like to restate the partnership that we have with Cocho. Marcus was just mentioning us working with IET. And I remember it was about, probably about 4 years ago, we were in Paddington. And we were working with IET and Cocho, and they had some issue with SAML. And the partnership that we have allows us to work directly with the product team, to make enhancements or make sure that the product is innovating, and making sure that your customers that you work with really have the support through Cocho and Microsoft. So it's not just you guys working with Cocho, there's a true partnership happening in the background. And many customers, some of you are here, will have probably experienced that. Okay, so the product that we use to actually engage with partners is called Azure, customers and partners, is called Azure AD B2C. So I'll give you a little bit of an introduction on what that product really is and what it's for. The first thing is you have to think about who are you building your applications for, who are your customers building their applications for. Obviously they're customers. And the types of customers they have can vary, right? If you think about it, you're all customers of services that you guys use. So if you think about Netflix or Amazon or BT, you're all customers of them. But there's different types of customers. Sometimes you're logging into your, let's say, employee store. So you're still a customer, but now you're a customer of the employer that you work with. And you're not going to use your Facebook account to log into that, are you now? You're probably going to use your employee login. So you have your employees. And some of your customers might be working with, let's say, other partners. So let's say you're Tesco or M&S, and your customer is your wholesaler. So the person who's providing the bulk delivery of goods to the store. Now, they're not like the end consumer that you have in, when you use Netflix or one of those services. They're classified as a partner. So what we're seeing is that your customers' customers, won't just be like us end users who go and shop at Tesco. They can include employees, they can include partners, and they can include end consumers. So we need a platform that can bring all of those identities together and make sure all of those types of customers can access those applications, not just end users. I think it's traditionally seen that consumer identity and access management has just looked at end user authentication, but that is not just it. Okay. So I think Marcus touched a little bit on the types of experiences we want to build for these, let's say, categories of customer. It needs to be easy to use. It needs to be frictionless. It needs to be secure. It needs to be reliable and resilient. Think about Black Friday. You can't have something happening on Black Friday whereby the large proportion of your traffic is going to be arriving, is going to produce the most amount of sales. The customers are going to be worried about this. We need to make sure that we have a reliable platform, something fast and easy to use, and also single sign-on. We want to use identities that already exist. We don't want to use identities that customers have to recreate, or we have to think of new passwords. We're trying to get rid of passwords. So what can we do there? How do I go next to it?
It's on the right.
Oh, okay, there we go.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, so a little bit of an introduction to the Azure AD B2C platform. How does it help with this type of problem? So we have multiple different features available. Customers can bring their own identity. For those really kind of end user facing applications like your Amazon or retail shop or insurance product, in those types of situations, customers can bring their own identity, whether that's username and password, or it could be their social accounts, so Facebook, Google, Microsoft, any of the well-known providers, LinkedIn. You can also bring your own, so maybe there's another one that we don't have like off the shelf. You can add that in as well. And what are the ways that customers can bring their own identity? So whether that's email, password, SMS, phone, email, OTP. So essentially we have various ways that customers can get into your application, frictionless experience. We don't want customers to always have to be remembering passwords, so we do offer passwordless type of authentication, whether that's just by sending an SMS to your phone number and the customer can then enter that into the screen. We support the Authenticator app, so they can get a code from the Authenticator app and enter that onto the screen. Or we support email OTP, so a customer can get a OTP arriving to the inbox and enter that into the logon page. And that does not need to be combined with a password, so a user can have some sort of identifier that they like and use that to log in with a passwordless mechanism. So that's one side of things, which is essentially how does the consumer interact with the authentication pages that your application might expose. But there's more to this. behind the scenes, there's lots of things that your customers will want to do. So for example, if you use a grocery service today, like Tesco or Asda, you'll have a loyalty number. And so how does that company tie that loyalty number to a person's ID, right? And usually that happens during a registration process or during a profile edit type of process. How do we tie those things together? So our service is fairly flexible, I would say very flexible, in the sense that when you do any of these sign in or sign up experiences, it doesn't just have to be your traditional username and password fields and submit and get to the app. You can insert other pages. You can even call out to external services. So in the case of processing a loyalty number, a customer can have the ability to enter the loyalty number on the screen, and our service can take that loyalty number and validate it against some back-end service, so whether that's one of the APIs that you have. So this offers quite a lot of flexibility. In fact, this feature is one of the most popular features, because if you think about it, customers that you work with, it's extremely likely that they already have a solution. They already have what they might consider their legacy platform, who want to modernize and move over to our modern platform. Now, this REST API feature will allow you to do what we call a just-in-time migration, or a seamless migration. So this is one of the most important things that our customers look for, is how can they get the identities out of the old system and into the new system without the users knowing. So this feature is the one that enables that. And then, of course, we can integrate with your web apps. We can integrate with your mobile apps. We can do interactive experiences, which we consider, when a user goes to a hosted website, which we will host, and we will capture the username and password or any credential. And then we also support essentially a sign-in process, which is an API-based process. So that allows a bit more flexibility inside a mobile app to maintain the UI that customers might want. Okay. And onto UI, I think there's a huge thing here. So the number one thing we see or experience with customers that we work with is that UI and UX is literally the key. We have customers who end up paying millions just to have a UI UX team come in. And how was the time?
Good.
We're good. Yeah, we have customers who pay millions of dollars or pounds to companies to design a catalog of UI and UX that associates with their brand. And going to a customer and saying, hey, you can only put this logo over here and you can't put it down there on these login pages, it becomes a business challenge, right? They've obviously invested a lot into a particular design language, and we can't just say, hey, scrap that and you can only fit into this box that we provide. If you think about when you use services like Amazon and Netflix, you're never logged out. The sign-in experience, they make it as easy as possible. It is all well branded and follows the design language of the applications. So any customers that you work with, they'll be striving for the same thing. So it's really important that we have the ability to make sure that the UI and UX line up to the design language that they've already chosen. So a service has multiple different capabilities that you can bring in your own HTML and CSS and various images, logos, and place them to make what we call a pixel perfect experience, which will allow customers that you work with to keep the exact design language that they've already looked at. So yeah, we call this the mobile experience, private label branding. Again, another thing we have to think about is, well, how can we make this self-service? Customers don't want to continue having help desk services if they can try to minimize those. It's a cost to the business. Anywhere that we can alleviate or remove the possibility that a end customer is going to call in is going to save the company a lot of money. So we have things like self-service password reset. You can go in, forgotten your password, just like any other service that you might have used today, will allow you to reset your password. Okay, I'm going to talk a little about the enterprise grade stuff here because I think I've talked about the flexibility already. So as I mentioned, we're seeing the lines blur a little bit between employee logon, partner logon, and consumer logon inside these applications. Straight away, as soon as you say you're offering, let's say, a consumer-facing app which your employees can log on to, the IT team in that company is going to straight away say, well, we need to enforce all the controls that we used to enforce against all of our line of business applications. Even though the consumer-facing logons, they probably don't care as much. They want it to be somewhat secure, but probably not as secure as the employee side. Think about an admin trying to manage a consumer-facing application. They're going to use their employee logon, but they might log directly into that application. That's end consumer-facing. Features that were traditionally in Azure AD, think about conditional access and identity protection. We're bringing these into Azure AD B2C. And in fact, that particular feature, which in the industry is known as risk-based authentication, is already being brought into Azure AD B2C. What that really means is our service will learn about the user and their behavior and try to figure out if their account is being broken into, right? If it's being compromised, if a bad actor is accessing it, or if an actor from China or Russia or somewhere where the user could not have traveled, we call that impossible travel, is trying to access the account, and we'll ask the legitimate user and the malicious actor to proof up or step up their account. So that could be, we might ask them to reset their password, we might ask them to perform multi-factor authentication. So it's traditionally a feature that we only had in enterprise scenarios, but considering the audiences are blurring into customer authentication, applications that offer customer authentication, we're bringing those features into that side of things as well, into Azure AD B2C.